to H.A. Goodman's other channel. It's below in the description right after this live stream, and check out the latest segment there. It'll be a synopsis of what we're talking about. Hit subscribe to my super chat. Thank you. Let's get it started. I have played the long clip of President Trump and President Obama talking, laughing. You can see it right here. They're laughing, they're smiling, they're talking, they're having a great time. They like each other. They are part of a club, a fraternity of 47 American presidents. 47 men, 47 American presidents. There's Fool Me Once. He's standing up right here. And it is almost certain, in my mind, I'm speculating. I'm not stating I'm not stating it's a fact. I'm stating, in my opinion, it's almost certain, through speculation and through public record knowledge, that President Obama is helping President Trump indict, convict everyone from James Comey to Clapper, Brennan, Hillary Clinton, and others, even though he was president and helped start the whole thing. The Russiagate hoax, the Red Scare, McCarthy era nonsense. You can see it's all water under the bridge, because what took place, ladies and gentlemen, you can see it again really quickly. What took place is, in the last months of President Obama's administration, you had Brennan, you had Comey, and you had others at the behest of Hillary Clinton. Okay, it wasn't a memo that they promised Hillary or anyone to do anything. They were on a political side, the same political side that, by the way, could be a criminal or a legal liability for President Obama going forward. Plus, he wants full control of the Democratic Party. What better way than to indict Hillary and others? Hit subscribe and check this out. By the way, for all the people who disown friends and family, I want you to pay because they voted Trump, pay close attention to this photo right here. Obama and Trump are friends. And that's not hyperbole. It really doesn't matter what President Trump says from here on out or what President Obama says from here on out. What are they going to... It's like the WWF back in the day. You would see the Iron Sheik and Hacksaw Jim Duggan, friends, outside the ring. Okay? The real issue is that John Brennan is named 12, 13 different times here, and it's called negotiating. Trump is starting off by saying it was Obama that decided all of this, that spearheaded, that launched all of this. Really, though, it was everyone around President Obama. Check this out. Hit subscribe, and definitely go to H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. I'm not going to stop and interrupt Director of National Intelligence Gabbard's explanation here. So hit subscribe and go to H.A. Goodman's other channel right after this.
Tulsi, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. At President Trump's direction and with the support and coordination with the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford, today we've released a declassified Oversight Majority Staff report that was produced in September of 2020. The stunning revelations that we are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration. We're here today because the American people deserve the truth, they deserve accountability, and they deserve justice. The records that we released on Friday that were ODNI records, Senator Chuck Grassley's release on Monday of what is known as the Clinton Annex, which was an appendix to the Department of Justice Office of Inspector General's 2018 report, as well as the House Intelligence Committee's majority oversight report that we're releasing today, all come back to and confirm the same report.
Coach O'Connor, thank God, doing well. Coach O'Connor, thank you. Thank you for always watching. Greatly appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much. I hope you're doing well as well also. Thank you.
There was a gross politicization and manipulation of intelligence by the Obama administration intended to delegitimize President Trump even before he was inaugurated, ultimately usurping the will of the American people. I'm going to go over the key findings from the House Intelligence Report, which investigated the claims that were made by an intelligence community assessment ordered by President Obama and published in January of 2017. First, Putin's principal interests relating to the 2016 election were to undermine faith in the U.S. democratic process, not show any preference of a certain candidate. In fact, this report shows Putin held back from leaking compromising material on Hillary Clinton prior to the election, instead planning to release it after the election to weaken what Moscow viewed as an inevitable Clinton presidency. In the January 2017 intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered, John Brennan, who was CIA director at the time, and the intelligence community intentionally suppressed intelligence that showed Putin was saving the most damaging material that he had in his possession about Hillary Clinton until after her potential and likely victory.
Are you ready to sell your house?
The report goes into great detail about the information that Russia and Putin had on Hillary Clinton, which included possible criminal acts like secret meetings with multiple named U.S. religious organizations in which State Department officials offered, in exchange for supporting Secretary Clinton's campaign for the presidency, significant increases in financing from the State Department. They also had documents that showed the patronage of the State Department to State Department employees who would go and support Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. There were high-level DNC emails that detailed evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness, and that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Then CIA Director Brennan and the intelligence community mischaracterized intelligence and relied on dubious substandard sources to create a contrived false narrative that Putin developed a quote-unquote clear preference for Trump. Brennan and the IC misled lawmakers by referencing the debunked Steele dossier to assess quote-unquote Russia's plans and intentions, falsely suggesting that this dossier had intelligence value when he knew that it was discredited. The intelligence community excluded significant intelligence and ignored or selectively quoted reliable intelligence that contradicted the intelligence community assessment's key findings on Putin's alleged support for Trump. Including this intelligence reporting would have exposed the ICA's claim as implausible, if not ridiculous. The intelligence community assessment omitted reliably sourced information, such as how some Russian intelligence officials were quote-unquote planning for candidate Hillary Clinton's victory, while others assessed neither Trump nor Clinton would respect Russia's interests. As was reflected in the ODNI documents that we released on Friday, multiple intelligence community assessments released in the months leading up to the November 2016 election concluded that Russia had neither the intent nor capability to impact the outcome of the U.S. election. On December 5th of 2016, the FBI and ODNI gave the House Intelligence Committee its first post-election classified briefing, in which there was no mention of Putin aspiring to elect Trump by either agency. The Presidential Daily Brief, drafted on December 8th of 2016, stated that no Russian or criminal actors impacted vote counts. This document was pulled just hours before it was to be published due to quote-unquote new guidance. If it had been published, it would have been briefed to both President Obama and President-elect Donald Trump. On December 9th, 2016, a National Security Council meeting was called to gather President Obama's senior national security officials, which included CIA Director Brennan, then Obama DNI James Clapper, Susan Rice, and others.
So really what took place was President Obama was there for the start of this. It didn't really help. It doesn't exonerate him legally. He still faces possible legal repercussions, like a 1% chance of an indictment. It is illegal what President Obama's administration did to set up and frame an incoming candidate based on a dossier literally purchased by Trump's direct political rival, Hillary Clinton. It's all illegal. That's why all these people will be indicted. When they say, oh, this is a political payback, it's retribution. No, they committed crimes because they couldn't find anything on Trump, so they created a Red Scare McCarthy-era hoax. They literally created and fabricated a myth that people still believe. Millions of Americans still believe. They say this is very damaging to national security. But it doesn't behoove it. President Obama didn't benefit either way. He was a two-term president, part of U.S. history. It only benefited Hillary Clinton. It only benefited donors, the Democratic Party. It didn't benefit President Obama. So it behooves him to see Clinton and others indicted. Politically, he benefits almost as much as President Trump, because Obama then gets full control of the Democratic Party and circumvents any legal or criminal liability in being president when all this started. And third point is that Comey, Clapper already blamed Obama, and Brennan and Hillary Clinton would tomorrow, if it made sense for them politically, turn on President Obama, and he knows this.
Following that secret meeting, DNI Clapper's assistant sent an email to the intelligence community with the subject line, POTUS tasking on Russia election meddling, tasking ODNI leaders to create a new assessment per the president's request. The House Intelligence Committee Oversight Report that we released today reveals that, quote, unlike routine intelligence community analysis, the intelligence community assessment was a high-profile product ordered by the President Obama. It directed senior intelligence community agency heads and created an intelligence community assessment limited to just 5 analysts using one principal drafter. This is not something that occurs in the normal path of producing an intelligence community assessment that reflects the views across the intelligence community. The production of this intelligence community assessment was subject to unusual directives directly from the president and senior political appointees, especially the former director of the CIA, John Brennan. The House Intelligence Committee Oversight Report also shows how later that same day, on December 9th, Brennan ordered the publication of quote-unquote substandard reporting on Russian activities, which had previously been withheld from publication of prior assessments because the information was judged, quote, to have not met long-standing publication standards. Some of the information later used in the Obama-ordered assessment over the objections of veteran CIA officers was, quote-unquote, unclear or from unknown sources. The Intelligence Committee's Oversight Report reveals that CIA Director Brennan overruled senior CIA officers who challenged the Obama-ordered intelligence assessment, stating, quote, we don't have direct information that Putin wanted to get Trump elected. Yet, the Obama-directed assessment was published on January 6, 2017, which explicitly stated, quote, we assess Putin and the Russian government aspired to help President-elect Trump's election chances, when possible, by discrediting Secretary Clinton and publicly contrasting her unfavorably to him, end of quote. The CIA and FBI then led by John Brennan and James Comey, expressed high confidence in this judgment, while the NSA expressed moderate confidence. Yet, as the report we released today shows, the ICA, the Intelligence Community Assessment, did not cite any report where Putin indicated helping Trump win was an objective. The opposite is true.
Remember.
With regards to the Steele dossier, we now know that one of the source documents that the Obama administration used in the creation of this intelligence assessment in January of 2017 was none other than the discredited, unverified Steele dossier. The House Intel report states, quote, contradicting public claims by then CIA Director Brennan that the dossier was not in any way incorporated into this intelligence assessment. The dossier was referenced in the intelligence assessment's main body text and further detailed in a 2-page assessment annex. John Brennan lied, and he denied using this dossier in this intelligence assessment that President Obama ordered because he knew it was discredited. It was a politically motivated, manufactured document.
On this channel, you have heard about, 5, 6, 7 hours of testimony, congressional testimony. That's why you want to hit subscribe if you're new. You can count easily between Brennan and Comey, McCabe, and others. You can count at least 30 to 40 examples of perjury, overt lies, deceptive statements, misleading Congress, easily 30 to 40.
He directed senior CIA officials to use it anyway. CIA officer told the House Intelligence Committee staff as they investigated this, quote, the director of the CIA, John Brennan, refused to remove it, and when confronted with the dossier's many flaws, responded, quote, yes, but doesn't it ring true? Even the bipartisan Senate Select Committee on Intelligence report published in 2020 criticized the FBI's handling of the Steele dossier, noting its completely unverified nature and purposeful sidestepping of intelligence community procedures in its use. Now, President Obama, Hillary Clinton, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, and others, including their mouthpieces in the media, knowingly lied as they repeated the contrived narrative that was created in this January 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment with high confidence as though it were fact. John Brennan, as CIA director, stated in a memo to his agency staff in December of 2016, saying, quote, there is strong consensus among us on the scope, nature, and intent of Russian interference in our presidential election. This was reported by NBC News, confirming that Brennan, along with James Clapper and James Comey, agreed with the CIA's assessment that Russia intervened to help Trump win the presidency. As Obama's Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper was tasked with overseeing the creation of this assessment in January of 2017 by President Obama, and he expressed confidence in its findings. In a 2018 interview with the Harvard Gazette, he talked about how he provided Trump with the same classified assessment that President Obama received.
But this is not true, because President Obama at the time knew. He knew that Hillary had servers with top secret intel, and he knew everything, that she deleted emails. He knew that the dossier was purchased by Clinton. Everyone knew that before BuzzFeed, almost certainly.
Which included the high confidence judgment that Putin directly ordered the hacking and election interference. Clapper then went on to add, I think they, the Russians, actually influenced the outcome. This is a brief summary.
Not one person in the United States of America altered their vote from Hillary to Trump because of the Russians. You'd have to be a complete imbecile to believe that.
Of the details that you'll find within the House Majority Staff's report in their investigation into the Obama-directed January 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment that leads us to the very same conclusion that we announced in the release of our documents on Friday. The implications of this are far-reaching and have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election and launch what would be a years-long coup against the incoming President of the United States, Donald Trump. Thank you.
So what's taking place is that they're starting by blaming President Obama, which he was the president. He is culpable or liable legally and in a criminal sense if there's an indictment. But check this out. I want you to check. This is a really interesting interaction right here.
Mr. Comey, have you ever heard the expression, power doesn't change people, it just unmasks them?
No, I don't think so.
How's your book coming? How many copies have you sold?
I don't know, a lot. I have a new one coming out in January about the Justice Department. I hope that'll sell a lot too, but I don't know the numbers. You enjoy attention, don't you, Mr. Comey? I do not. I enjoy attention from my family. I do not enjoy being recognized in public and my B-list celebrity fame, which I hope will go away very soon.
This is, of course, nonsense. He loves the theatrical performance, just like John O'Brennan. So Brennan, Comey, it's just the same. They're the same people.
Mm. Well, I'll give you this. You have been an equal opportunity egotist. You have tried to screw both Trump and Clinton. Let's talk about Clinton first. When you were head of the FBI, you investigated Secretary Clinton and her emails and her server, did you not?
The FBI team did while I was director, yes.
And you concluded that there were no criminal violations, did you not?
There were no violations that a reasonable prosecutor would pursue.
So that means a prosecutor that was unreasonable would pursue criminal violations. Reasonable being Democratic Party aligned. Let's continue.
But you didn't just issue a statement. You called a press conference. And you commented on her behavior. You said she was extremely careless, but in your opinion, there was no criminal intent. What were you thinking of? I mean, this is the Democratic nominee for President of the United States. Didn't you realize that could have an impact on the investigation?
The investigation was ending at that point when I issued the summary of what we had concluded.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Didn't you realize that could have an impact on the election?
Oh, potentially, sure. And I was trying to offer...
Potentially, possibly, potentially. Potentially.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was trying to offer transparency about the justification for ending an investigation of intense interest to the American people in July 5th of 2016.
Well,
Okay, the Comey letter, he should open up a stationery store with just atrocious writing, and the Comey letter sunk Clinton's campaign. Okay, I love Trump, and it would have been an abomination. It would have been terrible for the planet and the world and the country. But we would have survived, just like the Gloria Gaynor song, I will survive. But 4 years of Hillary would have taken place if it wasn't for Comey's letter. I remember exactly when Comey wrote the letter, and I said, okay, that Trump has won because of that. It wasn't the Russians. It wasn't even the fact that they cheated Bernie Sanders, which, by the way, was probably in on it. It wasn't the Clinton email scandal cover-up, top secret intel on servers. It was the Comey letter, almost certainly.
You gave us a full dose of transparency. 11 days before the election, you sent a letter to Congress saying, never mind what I said in my press conference, my unprecedented press conference, I'm going to reopen the investigation, didn't you?
Correct. I didn't say what you just said in the letter, but I told the chairs of the committees we were reopening the investigation to examine some additional material.
And then a few days later, right before the election, you said, never mind. She didn't do anything.
No, I said the examination was completed and it doesn't change our view.
And we're not talking.
He literally testified that Uma Abedin was forwarding classified data to Anthony Weiner's laptop, and you couldn't even touch Weiner's laptop without a hazmat suit at that time. So that was why he wrote the Comey letter. You can see that congressional testimony. You've heard it on this channel as well. Dianne Feinstein, he stated he wrote the Comey letter because Uma Abedin was forwarding classified data outside the U.S. government, and still nobody was charged with the crime. It's unbelievable.
Talking about a parking ticket here. We're talking about the Democratic nominee for president of the United States, the most powerful person in the free world. And you didn't think that would have an impact on the election?
Oh, I knew it could potentially have an impact no matter what we did.
And you don't like attention?
Yes, both of those things are true at the same time. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions and you don't like attention.
So he's obviously lying here as well. One hilarious and actually, very good trait, or I don't want to say good trait, but one very powerful superpower Comey has is that you cannot embarrass him or shame him for anything. It's impossible. So even if he destroyed one candidate, goes to destroy another candidate, covers up an email probe, covers it up again with a letter, sets up and frames Trump, he doesn't care. And he's like, well, but he absolutely loves attention.
Let's talk about Trump. You didn't really care about Dr. Page, did you? You wanted Trump, didn't you?
That is not accurate.
Yeah.
You could tell Comey is almost enjoying this because Senator Kennedy here is giving him a stern lecture, and it's like Jamie Moyer, the old pitcher. He was an amazing pitcher, but he threw like 85, 88 miles per hour, and he'd strike people out. So he's just throwing like the slowest curveballs just to see if Comey would strike out. And Comey is finding it amusing because you actually get more of how deceptive he is with how much he amuses the question. How much he enjoys the questioning.
When you went and got these warrants to investigate Dr. Page, that you don't remember much about, what did that allow you to do? Could you follow him around?
First, I didn't, Senator, go get any warrants. The investigative team and the lawyers from DOJ got offers.
Right. Could you follow him around with the authority from FISA?
No, you didn't need authority from FISA to follow someone around. This was about electronic surveillance.
Oh, so you could wiretap him?
It allowed you to collect electronic communications that he was engaged in.
You can wiretap him?
Yeah, that's the old-fashioned term, but yes, it gave you authority to collect electronic communications. Almost no one uses.
Could you bug him?
I don't think there was authority in the FISA application for a remote listening device.
Could you open his mail?
I don't think that was included either.
But you don't remember?
I don't. It's easy to figure out, but I don't. Sitting here, I don't know.
Okay, that's fair. And you're saying today that that if you knew now what you didn't know then, that you wouldn't have signed the application?
I would not have signed the narrow certification that the FBI director has to give, but more importantly, I'd want to know from the team, how are you thinking about this? Why are these things not being included?
He doesn't care about the team. He does not care about this. Look at his face. He knows he's lying. He knows, everyone knows he's lying, but he thinks and he truly believes, and maybe he knows, well, he knew at that point nothing he said would have resulted in an indictment. So at this point right now, he was shielded from any legal liability until Trump won again 8 years later or 5 years later.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're a smart guy. You're an honors graduate, William and Mary, Chicago Law School. And you don't like attention. And I'm trying to understand that you're investigating the Republican nominee for President of the United States. Okay?
No.
You've already finished with the Democratic nominee.
Yeah, we
Now
were
it's
not
the Republican nominee, and you got a FISA warrant that was a lie, and you say, well, it wasn't. You're head of the FBI. Didn't you check? Didn't you go, hey guys, this is this is a nominee for President of the United States. Let's sit down and talk about what's your evidence. You never did that?
Senator, we were never investigating the candidate, the Republican candidate, Mr. Trump. This was about a surveillance warrant on someone who was no longer associated with the campaign.
Oh, you just...
Perjury. That was part of the investigation of Trump. But again, it's everyone knows they're lying. They know everyone knows they're lying. This is about circumventing perjury and knowing that the Biden administration for 4 years would shield everyone involved. They had no clue from then until Comey wrote 8647 because he found seashells. I mean, you can't make it up. You can't make it up. They never, ever thought that anyone would get indicted. Now they still don't think people will get convicted, but they're all going to get almost certainly convicted, indicted. Not whether it's perjury, conspiracy statutes. Trump ain't playing. He ain't playing.
Just got his name out of the white pages.
Whose name?
And then with General Flynn, you've wrapped up your investigation, but you decide to take one more shot. Sally Yates says you went rogue. Isn't that accurate?
It is not accurate.
Well, why would she say that? She sure didn't compliment you. I was sitting right here, bigger than Dallas. Listen to her. She said you went rogue.
Is he asking me what she meant by that?
Yeah, what do you think about that?
No, I think she was disappointed that I didn't coordinate the Flynn interview with her in advance, and I understood her concern about that. I think she understood my explanation afterwards as to why I used my authority, which I had, to do it without coordinating.
But you don't like attention.
I stand by my earlier answer. I love attention from my grandchildren and my children and my wife. The rest of it, I could let politicians have it.
Can we agree that the FBI...
So we don't know if this man actually helped the country. I really don't know, as FBI director, if he saved the country from any calamity or any of these people, Brennan included. If he did, God bless him. But he was a part of trying to ruin the United States of America with a Cold War, McCarthy-era Red Scare myth to help one political side. His actions influenced very impressionable, liberal, morally superior, highly educated Democratic Party voters to cut ties with friends, family members. He caused, along with Brennan and others and Hillary Clinton, who started the whole thing, a McCarthy-era Red Scare madness that plunged the country into an era of fake news perpetuated by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalists and major publications spreading overt lies, lies by omission, a hoax and a myth. There was never a shred of evidence that Trump was being groomed or worked for or colluded with the Kremlin. Not one piece of evidence. That's why Brennan said, he doesn't do evidence, he does intelligence. And we all grew up learning the McCarthy era was a terrible time in American history. Comey and others recreated a new McCarthy era. And it didn't do them any good. Now, you had a firefighter lose his life, but Trump survived the attempt on his life. He won again. And he's taken a sledgehammer to everything that they all tried to keep safe from Trump. The establishment is being devoured by the orange menace that they thought they could defeat. And had they simply treated Trump as a normal president and not set him up and framed him, they would have kept their cherished uniparty. But now he's taking a gigantic orange sledgehammer to everything.
Is the premier law enforcement agency in all of human history?
I think so. At risk of offending DEA, I think so.
Mr. Comey, if you'd chosen a different career, say a driving instructor, and you'd never pursued a career at the FBI, don't you think the FBI would be better off?
I didn't pursue a career at the FBI. I was very happily teaching at Columbia when I was asked to become FBI director.
Nonsense. More nonsense. Of course he wanted a career at the FBI. That was one of his goals. Check this out.
Chairman, you and I were discussing the felonious dissemination of classified material during the last round. Is there an exception in the law for current or former U.S. officials who request anonymity?
To release classified information?
Yes, sir.
No.
Is there an exception in the law for reporters who want to break a story?
Well, that's a harder question as to whether a reporter incurs criminal liability by publishing classified information, and one probably beyond my ken. I'm not as good a lawyer as Mr. Schiff said I used to be.
Well, I don't know about that, but the statute does use the word publish, doesn't it?
It does, but that's a question I know the Department of Justice has struggled with through administration after administration.
I know the Department struggled with it, the Fourth Circuit struggled with it, lots of people have struggled with it, but you're not aware of an exception in the current dissemination of classified information statute that carves out an exception for reporters.
No, I'm not aware of anything carved out in the statute. I don't think a reporter has been prosecuted, certainly in my lifetime, though.
Well, there have been a lot of statutes at bar in this investigation for which no one's ever been prosecuted or convicted, and that does not keep people from discussing those statutes, namely the Logan Act. In theory, how would reporters know a U.S. citizen made a telephone call to an agent of foreign power?
How would they know legally?
Yes.
If it was declassified and then discussed in a judicial proceeding or a congressional hearing, something like that.
And assume none of those facts are at play, how would they know?
Someone told them who shouldn't have told them.
How would a reporter know about the existence of intercepted phone calls?
Well, same thing. In a legitimate way, through an appropriate proceeding where there's been declassification. In any other way, in an illegitimate way.
The arrogance during the theatrical performance is really breathtaking. It really is. He has James Comey has a superpower. His superpower is hubris beyond belief, and the amusing ability to know that everyone knows he's lying, and yet still lie with a straight face, with the same immense arrogance, and just the most wonderful. He is such a great actor. He's like the Laurence Olivier of corrupt politics.
how would reporters know if a transcript existed of an intercepted communication?
Same answer. The only legitimate way would be through a proceeding, appropriate proceeding. The illegitimate way would be somebody told them who shouldn't have told them.
What does the term mask mean in the concept of FISA and other surveillance programs?
As Director Rogers explained, it's our practice, approved by the FISA court, of removing the names of U.S. persons to protect their privacy and their identity unless it hits certain exceptions. So masking means, as Mike Rogers said, I'll often see an intelligence report from NSA that will say U.S. person number 1, U.S. person number 2, U.S. person number 3, and there's no further identification on the document.
Admiral Rogers said there are 20 people within the NSA that are part of the unmasking process. How many people within the FBI are part of the unmasking process?
I don't know for sure as I sit here. Surely more, given the nature of the FBI's work. We come into contact with U.S. persons a whole lot more than the NSA does, because we may be we only conduct our operations in the United States to collect electronic surveillance, to conduct electronic surveillance. So I can find out the exact number. I don't know it as I sit here.
Well, I think, Director Comey, given the fact that you and I agree this is critical, vital, indispensable, a similar program is coming up for reauthorization this fall with a pretty strong headwind right now, it would be nice to know the universe of people who have the power to unmask a U.S. citizen's name, because that might provide something of a roadmap to investigate who might have actually disseminated a masked U.S. citizen's name.
Sure, the number is relevant, but what I hope the American people will realize is the number is important, but the culture behind it is, in fact, more important. The training, the rigor, the discipline. We are obsessive about FISA and the FBI for reasons I hope make sense to this committee, but everything that's FISA has to be labeled in such a way to warn people, this is FISA. We treat this in a special way.
He literally had a lawyer, an FBI lawyer, plead guilty to fabricating a FISA warrant, like fabricating in evidence and just making it up. And of course, he got a slap on the wrist.
So we can get you the number, but I want to assure you the culture of the FBI and the NSA around how we treat U.S. person information is obsessive, and I mean that in a good way.
Director Comey, I am not arguing with you, and I do agree the culture is important. But if there are 100 people who have the ability to unmask and the knowledge of a previously masked name, and that's 100 different potential sources of investigation. And the smaller the number is, the easier your investigation is. So the number is relevant. I concede the culture is relevant. NSA, FBI, what other U.S. government agencies have the authority to unmask a U.S. citizen's name?
Well, I think all agencies that collect information pursuant to FISA have what are called standard minimization procedures, which are approved by the FISA court.
And a lot of these FISA warrants, not only did the FBI lawyer lie on the FISA application, but what takes place is that Comey or McCabe or others leak information, just like he leaked information to start a special counsel. They leak information to willing journalists who don't like Trump, who don't like Republicans. Then they'll write stories based on the absurd nonsense they get from agents or government employees or intel agents or whatever. Then they'll write the story. The FISA judge will look at the story and say, well, it's public record. It was literally fed to the willing participant at the publication, Washington Post, New York Times, and then the judge reads it, says it's public record. Okay, let's sign off on the FISA warrant, when in reality, they're just feeding nonsense or lies to create a narrative, to create a zeitgeist, to get FISA warrants accepted. So morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats will say, well, FISA warrant, it was a judge looked at it. It's like, yeah, well, why do you think this judge signed off on it?
That govern how they will treat U.S. person information. So I know the NSA does, I know the CIA does, obviously the FBI does. I don't know for sure beyond that.
How about the Department of how about Maine Justice?
I mean, Maine Justice, I think, does have standard minimization procedures.
All right, so that's 4. The NSA, FBI, CIA, Maine Justice, Does the White House have the authority to unmask a U.S. citizen's name?
I think other elements of the government that are consumers of our products can ask the collectors to unmask. The unmasking resides with those who collected the information. And so if Mike Rogers' folks collected something and they send it to me in a report and it says U.S. person number 1, and it's important for the FBI to know who that is, our request will go back to them. The White House can make similar requests of the FBI or of NSA, but they don't on their own collect, and so they can't on their own unmask. I got that about right?
Yeah, that's correct.
I guess what I'm getting at, Director.
He doesn't care about the protocol. Did I get that right? Did I get that right? He doesn't care about the protocol. It's all theater. These are actors. If they weren't setting up and framing Trump and trying to plunge the country into a new Cold War, they'd be in Hollywood.
Mr. Comey, as you say, it's vital, you say it's critical, you say it's indispensable. We both know it's a threat to the reauthorization of 702 later on this fall. And oh, by the way, it's also a felony punishable by up to 10 years. So how would you begin your investigation, assuming for the sake of argument that a U.S. citizen's name appeared in the Washington Post and the New York Times unlawfully? Where would you begin that investigation?
Well, I'm not going to talk about any particular investigation.
That's why I said in theory.
You would still figure out, so who are the suspects? Who touched the information that you've concluded ended up unlawfully in the newspaper, and start with that universe.
But if you fed the information to the newspaper, he's spilling the beans here. He doesn't mean to, but inadvertently spilling the beans.
And then use investigative tools and techniques to see if you can eliminate people or include people as more serious suspects.
Do you know whether Director Clapper knew the name of the U.S. citizen that appeared in the New York Times and Washington Post?
I can't say in this forum because, again, I don't want to confirm that there was classified information in the newspaper.
Would he have access to an unmasked name?
In some circumstances, sure. He was the Director of National Intelligence, but I'm not talking about the particular.
Would Director Brennan have access to an unmasked U.S. citizen's name?
In some circumstances, yes.
Would National Security Advisor Susan Rice have access to an unmasked U.S. citizen's name?
I think yes, in general, and any other National Security Advisor would, I think, as a matter of their ordinary course of their business.
Would former White House Advisor Ben Rhodes have access to an unmasked U.S. citizen's name?
I don't know the answer to that.
Would former Attorney General Loretta Lynch have access to an unmasked U.S. citizen's name?
In general, yes, as would any Attorney General.
So that would also include Acting AG Sally Yates?
Same answer.
Did you brief President Obama on, well, I'll just ask you, did you brief President Obama on any calls involving Michael Flynn?
I'm not going to get into either that particular case, that matter, or any conversations I had with the president, so I can't answer that.
Oh, no conversations with the president. It's off limits, except he wrote memos. The memos that he went through his professor friend to start a special counsel. With Trump, he can write memos. No problem. Tell the world Trump was mean. He tried to influence me. And with President Obama, no, can't talk about that. And the rebuttal could be, well, it was a perjury trap, or he's trying to circumvent it was during testimony. It's like, well, you leaked information about Trump, but refused to talk about private conversations with President Obama. You leaked a private conversation with Trump, but refused. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, Director Comey, there's been some speculation this morning on motive. I'm not all that interested in motive. First of all, it's really hard to prove. Secondarily, you never have to prove it. But I get that people want to know. The jury always wants to know why. I think you and I can agree there are a couple of reasons that you would not have to unlawfully, feloniously disseminate classified material. It certainly wasn't done to help an ongoing criminal investigation because you already had the information, didn't you?
Again, I can't answer in the context of this particular matter.
How about in theory? Is there something a reporter would have access to that the head of the FBI would not?
It's hard for me to answer. I would hope not when it relates to the
I would hope
FBI's
not too, since it's part of our surveillance programs. I would hope that you had access to everything as the head of the world's premier law enforcement agency. I would hope that you had it all. So if you had it all, the motive couldn't have been to help you because you already had it. And Admiral Rogers, the motive couldn't have been to help you because you already had it. So in the universe of possible motives for the felonious dissemination of classified material, we could rule out wanting to help the intelligence communities and the law enforcement communities. Those are two motives that are gone now. That leaves some more nefarious motives. Is the investigation into the leak of classified information, has it begun yet?
I can't say because I don't want to confirm that that was classified information.
Well, I don't want to quarrel with you, Director Comey, and I do.
What? What?
Do understand that you cannot ordinarily confirm or deny the existence of an investigation. But you did it this morning citing DOJ policy given the gravity of the fact pattern. Would you not agree?
Could you imagine if a husband went to the wife with, "Where were you last night?" "I can't confirm or deny. This is an ongoing investigation." "What? There's lipstick on your collar." That I cannot confirm or deny. What you see could be or possibly it was the Russians.
That surveillance programs that are critical, indispensable, vital to our national security, some of which are up for reauthorization this fall, that save American lives and prevent terrorist attacks, also rises to the level of importance.
I think those programs are vital, and leaks of information collected pursuant to court order under those programs are terrible, and as I said in my opening statement, should be taken very, very seriously. What I don't ever want to do is compound what bad people have done and confirm something that's in the newspaper, because sometimes the newspaper gets it right. There's a whole lot of wrong information allegedly about classified activities that's in the newspaper. We don't call them and correct them either.
That's because government officials are busy feeding the false information.
That's another big challenge, but we just don't go anywhere near it because we don't want to help and compound the offense that was committed.
I understand that, Director Comey, and I'm trying really hard not to get you to discuss the facts.
Reese, thank you so much for being here since 2016. Zrobo, thank you as well. And DeFreak S23, thank you, everybody. Corn Pop, hello. Everybody, thank you for being, if you've been here for so long, and I thank you very much. I thank you very much. I appreciate it. It really means a great deal to me. I cannot express to you, really, if you've been here for that long, and 2016, 2017, 2018, and in new viewers as well, it really means a great deal to me. And you know, if you've been here for a long time, it took a long time to build this channel. We're almost at 300,000 subscribers, almost at 300,000 because of each and every one of you, especially the people who've been here for so long. Thank you.
Bar, but some of the words that appeared in this public reporting include the word transcript, which has a very
Leyland, thank you as well. Thanks, everybody.
Unique use in the matters that you and I are discussing this morning. That is a very unique use of that word. Wiretap has a very specific meaning. The name of a U.S. citizen that was supposed to statutorily be protected is no longer protected. So some of this reporting, let's assume 90% of it is inaccurate. That other 10% is still really, really important. And to the extent that you can rely on the dates in either the Washington Post or the New York Times, we are talking about February of this year is when the reporting first took place. So we're a month and a half and 2 months into something that you and I agree is incredibly important and also happens to be a felony. So I'm just simply asking you to assure the American people, you've already assured them you take it really seriously. Can you assure them that it is going to be investigated?
I can't, But I hope people watching know how seriously we take leaks of classified information. But I don't.
So seriously that you're being indicted, or that he will be indicted in the future. Well, he was just indicted. This is years back, 8 years ago. It took 8 years for him to be indicted for leaking, or authorizing, or allowing, or greenlighting a leak. This channel, hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you all. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. And look, it's happening. It's happening. Thanks, everybody. God bless you. See you tomorrow. And I think maybe Wednesday or Tuesday, I'll start. I'm going to do a couple days this week, only uploads on this channel. Then we'll get back to live streams, Friday or so, or Thursday or so, or Wednesday. But I'm gonna go ahead and do a bunch of uploads on this channel to explain why I believe President Obama is helping President Trump, and also hit subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. That's huge, ladies and gentlemen. That will help both channels grow. But H.A. Goodman's other channel, let's get it to 100.